I'll write you guys. Look, this is going to be a quick, I'm sorry, I look disheveled. I just got back from walking my dog. But this is a quick video on GTI on Tuesday, October 4th. I think I listened to him last night. I think I'm correct. Happy birthday, Lou. I didn't hear the whole thing last night, but if I'm wrong, it was yesterday, but I think it's today. So happy birthday. I hope all your dreams come true. I've been getting a lot of questions as to how high can this stock go? GTII I'm talking about. You know, I actually think everything I say applies to Finger, but I want to just stick to GTII. I'm going to use an example that I have not practiced, so bear with me. But in the case of GTII, we know that there were, when Charlie Mayonnaise called into the company, there was a short position. There have been several pieces of due diligence on Reddit and Twitter, and then there's been talk. No one knows for sure. I don't know for sure. So that's the risk in everything I'm saying. But it was something like 40 to 60 million shares possibly short at the time Mayonnaise made his call. We know that since then, as roughly 2 million shares a month, and many times more than that, for the last 20 months have been, by FINRA's data, have been sold with failure to deliver. So that's another 40 million. But that's a low number. I'm just giving you trying to be conservative. On the other hand, some of the data is much higher than that. But let's just leave that at 40. Let's use the midpoint maybe on the other one. That's 50 plus 40, that's 90 million shares that have been sold, that we can do our best effort guess based on data from FINRA, based on the starting point. So these are our assumptions when we're trying to calculate a price that goes higher. In just the last week of trading days, the Kramers have sold another, it looks like 35 million. Some bozo's trying to scare you out. Looks like he shorted 5 million, or maybe it was the Kramers. And there's going to be more today. So let's call that 40 million. So we're at 130. Now, there was a gentleman that did research on the pre-existing company of GTII, which led him to believe that there might be as many as 350 million short. And all of those shares stay on the books. They don't just disappear. So as the stock price goes up, and when there's a buy-in, which we all of us are wondering when, you have to make your own assumptions. But I believe, for me, that saying that there's 100 million short that needs to be covered to 150 million is spot on. It could be a lot higher. I suppose there's a chance that it's marginally lower, but how much lower? 90 million? I mean, anyway. So that's what needs to be covered. Now, the shares outstanding is a big number. I think it's 250 million shares, 57 million shares. That's the shares authorized by the company, but they have not been. They're not in the float, the public float. The public float was, and I'm going to use round numbers, roughly 35 million shares. Some of that is closely held shares and may not be available to trade. There was one financing that I remember that they were offered 10 million. And when I mean financing, it was a merger. It was very important to the company, but I think it gave 10 million shares that have a ability to be sold above $3.50 or something like that. So the real shares available in the marketplace are around 45 million. So you've got 150 million people running around 45 million chairs while the music starts running, and they've got to buy those 45 million shares. When a squeeze comes, when E-Trade calls Merrill Lynch and says, I'm looking for stock, they don't want a failure to deliver. They do not want to hear the Kramer's promises. They want real shares. Okay, so I want to show you something that I thought of as by way of explanation. And it's going to be completely rough. But here's a deck of cards. Here's a deck of cards in red. That's 52 cards. Let's say that the red are the real float, so that there's 52 million shares available, real shares available to be bought. I'm just going to, for sake of argument, say that there's 52 million shares that were purchased, or let me say it a different way, that were sold, that were real. So there's 52 million shares that were settled. Okay, I guess that's a better way to say it. So now, and I forget what I just said about the blue cards. Now I want to say the margin call comes. I told you I didn't practice this. So the margin call comes. So you've got let's call it E-Trade and Ameritrade have to cover 52 million fail to deliver shares in the blue. They have to buy these 52 million available shares. Well, each one of these people in here have different decisions. They might sell at $5, the ace. The 2 might sell at $20. The 3 might sell at $300. There's different decisions. So Ameritrade and E-Trade, or whoever I said, have to induce these people to sell. Now these fail to delivers have a match. They have a match. Now the price, we don't know, but I have a suspicion that as these match off, maybe the first 10 million match off, and they settle, and they're out of the picture temporarily. They're out of the picture. The next 20 million might go off at a really high price, but then maybe the last 15 million or so, they hold out for a really high price, and it's hard to tell. Okay, I don't know how long the real share has to be in the account before it can be counted as delivered. I imagine it's instantaneous, but for some reason Wall Street can't settle trades instantaneously, so call me befuddled. But once those all match off, you've got 50 million shares that match 52 million that match 52 million fail to delivers. Okay, it sounds like it's settled. Well, guess what? There's 100 million more. There's 100 million more shares that need to be bought, and there's only 50 million real shares out there. It's only 50 million. So the 50 million has to, this real 50 million has to be matched to these fail to delivers. This 52 million fails to deliver at whatever price market. When the prime broker comes out, it'll be a market price. Just buy it. Get us, buy it in. The price has to go high enough to induce 50 people to make a decision to sell. Now you can pick any numbers you want. I'm hearing that a lot of people want to get out at 5 or 10, 15. Okay, that only you can decide that. Only you can decide that. And maybe that's a good time to take some money off the table. Or maybe instead of 5 or 15, you do it at 30 or at 50 or at 100. But it's your decision. These real shares are in your hands. So you control, for the first time, you have the power on Wall Street for just a nanosecond. So these 52 million fail to delivers need to match up first. Now, again, I don't know how long it sits, overnight, 2 days, or instantaneously, that E-Trade and Ameritrade can say they settled the trades. But then, so that means these real shares are in the hands of settled trades with new buyers at a higher price. They're not. Well, I guess it is at a higher price from the standpoint of the brokerage firm, E-Trade and Ameritrade. But the people might have the shares in their accounts at lower. It gets a little confusing, this mental exercise. But they've been bought at a higher price. Okay, so now those same 52 million shares are in the hands of people that paid a higher price. Here comes Fidelity. Here comes Merrill Lynch. Here comes Wells Fargo. They got to buy, and that's 100 million more. That's 100 million more. They've got to induce a new set of 50 million shares out of the hands. And again, those are controlled by us, basically. I mean, I would guess some of it is shares that were sold before. So my point is, when you ask, how high can it go? How high can it go? I'm just using 150 million shares, but that's the real shares available. That's 50 million shares available. That's 150 million shares that have to be bought in. So they have to induce these people to let go of their shares, and then when that trade's settled, the other people have to be induced to sell. Now, what's confusing about this example is you can affect the price. You can sell your IOUs and there'll be an active back and forth in sort of fake shares, and that'll affect the price. But the brokerage firms need to buy the real shares. So to the extent that it's all gone now. Everybody hangs strong, the price could be really high, and that's all I want to say. And then I want to caution that there's a lot of emotions out there, and it's going to play. There's going to be people selling. But there's going to be some tough people. If you think about that movie, The Big Short, that guy, Mark Baum, he held and he held and he held. Everyone wanted him to sell. So when I give you a price of 500,000 as my middle range upside target, I have no idea. That it's going to go that high. But we're talking about the marginal shares being sold, the people that didn't want to sell. Remember, I spilled all my cards. There's only 52 million, in this example, shares that are real. Those 52 million shares have to bounce around all the brokerage firms to at least, whether it's a day or a minute or 2 days, to settle the trades. And there's 150 million chasing it. So the reason why I think the price can go really high is that. Now, I'm not smart enough to figure out all the thousands and millions of decisions that are going to be made, the emotions that are going to go on. If we all sell, we sell once. But then the new person buying, I don't think they're going to sell at a loss. I think they're going to try to have it higher. I don't have another deck of cards, but the fact is there will be additional short selling of probably IOU shares because there aren't enough shares in the float. What Wall Street has convinced people of is that short sellers do a cleansing. They're like sunshine on the murky corridors of these OTC stocks and CEOs. I think we all know it's the opposite now, but that would be fine if in the 52 and the 52, some were short, some were long, but the shorts were borrowed from the red. Then you have an even playing field. I will say that it's astonishing, for example, that in Finger, that short used to be, to my memory, 6 million. It went up to 8 million, I think, recently. And then overnight, it's over 50 million. The amount of shares available to trade are 13 million. So you can take the example I just gave and make the stacks to much higher. What I don't understand, the three risks about Finger, I think Finger's a great company. I wish I still own shares. But the three risks that I don't understand: one, can management stand strong against an offer from whatever the capital firm is to clean up the whole mess for $250 million or something? And then the other thing is NASDAQ, I think, can stop trading and calm everything down. In the case that I just gave you, and I've dropped a lot of these cards, so use your imagination. 150 million have to buy 50 million. There's no market stopping. There's the emotions that you're having right now. The panic can set in on the upside, not so much with the prime broker. They'll just buy at any price, but the additional shorts will panic and buy it up. Okay, I'm going to keep it at that. I'm going to reiterate that my brackets now are higher. I think that you can use $70 as a reasonable target on the low end. It'll climb up to that. And I think $700 now, that's just simply 100 times 7, is a mid-range target. And because of the number of blues that have to buy reds, I think this can go 1,000x, 5,000x, 10,000x. But just sitting at 1,000x, I now think maybe you get a spike to 7,000. These numbers sound preposterous, I know, but we've never been through anything like this. I've never seen it, because you've got the two things you've got management that's working with you. You've got completely arrogant short sellers that think they can never step wrong. And then you've got Ham fighting. And he's also in Finger too. So anyway, I'm going to stop it at 20 minutes. My point to you is I'm trying to explain to you why I see that in a spike, you could just see numbers beyond anything you or I can conceive. I want you to stay strong if you believe the assumptions. The assumptions lead to the conclusion that that's possible. If you believe all that, stay strong with some higher orders. If not, money management would tell you to take a third of your shares off the table after your stock triples. That way you get all your money off. Take the next third off the table, maybe when it doubles or triples from there, and then let the last third run. That's money management. So those are decisions you have to look at. But I hope I helped explain why I think the stock price could go stratospheric. None of this is advice, financial advice, and it's all opinion. And oh, by the way, yesterday I listened to this morning when I was bleary-eyed, I listened to my tape. The lawyer for the Kramers is a white collar criminal defense lawyer. I left the defense lawyer off. I was out of it last night. He's not a white collar criminal at all. They're a very good firm. So anyway, happy birthday to Lou. Happy trading. Enjoy this. Try to block out any anxiety or fear, because you're in a winning trade. You've caught the wave. Ride it and have fun. So I'll talk to you later today. Cheers.